Have y'all ever heard the saying, you dream it, we can build it? Well, imagination is a very powerful thing and sometimes often dangerous for those around me. Just like in the real railroad industry, everything plays its part. And when it's finished playing its part, well, it plays another part. What do they call that? Repurposing? Well, they don't actually sell spruce locomotives down at your local hobby shop, but we have an idea. We? Yep, we. And I don't have a mouse in my pocket, but I do have Brandon Bennett sitting next to me. You see, Brandon's no stranger to the spruce. Matter of fact, he's been around for a long time. Young Brandon's been involved in model railroading as long as he can remember. As a matter of fact, he's the current vice president of the Bunker Hill Train Club and manager of Loco Joe's Hobby Shop. When I asked Brandon if he wanted to get involved, he jumped right in. Poor guy, he didn't know what he was in for. There's going to be a whole fleet of equipment for the new spruce layout, but we wanted to start out with something simple. Well, of course, simple in my head meant a lot of hard work for Brandon in the form of complete rebuilds. Now, every model is different, but believe it or not, Brandon was able to strip this locomotive by simply soaking it in 91% alcohol for a few hours. Now, for you old school guys, that's not the drinking kind we're talking about. Alright, heads up, Brandon uses a dual action airbrush and a Badger compressor. He uses Tamiya paints and also Model Master Clear. Everyone has their own way of doing things, especially when it comes to mixing paint. Brandon uses a mixture of 4 parts paint to 1 part alcohol. But like any other art form, you should always test. Now, of course, I'm not going to make you sit through Brandon painting every part on this locomotive, but you get the idea. Now, the reason Brandon's working so fast is because when I left for Europe, I gave him strict orders to have everything done by the time I got back. And again, we can't show everything in this video, but in between coats, Brandon can focus on the cab, the frame, the trucks, and the detail parts. Now, with these Tamiya acrylic paints, Brandon tells me that they're a breeze to clean up with, using only water. Alright, after several coats of paint, we can now move on to the clear coat, and this is going to be Tester's Model Master Acrylic. Wow, that looks great. It's like fine art. Now, this is my favorite part of the build, and it's time to give these beauties an identity of their own. Custom decals. But again, they don't exactly sell spruce decals in the local hobby shop. We had to create these on a computer and send them off to have them printed in white ink. Now, the truth is, Brandon was having so much fun working on these locomotives, he wouldn't even let me help. Now, trust me, from years in the hobby, don't ever use scissors to make your final cut on decals. Make sure you use a nice sharp X-Acto knife to get a real fine edge. This will make your life a lot easier when you go to smooth these things out. You'll have a nice transition. Now, for those of you that have never applied decals before, it's a fairly simple process, but it all comes down to the finish you're working on and also smoothing these things out so you don't have any air pockets. Applying decals is a time-consuming process, especially with the number of decals you have on one locomotive, but as you can see, Brandon's taking his time and working everything in nice and smooth. Obviously, the larger decals are easier to work with, but the smaller decals take a little bit of finesse. Now, there's a few different solutions that you can use that are commercially available. One is Micro Set, and the other is Micro Sol. Now, for your own reference, you can go online and Google these 2 different products and see what the physical differences are. But for the application here, we're just using the Micro Sol to help seat the decal. This will soften the decal and help it work into the fine details on the locomotive. After all the decals are in place and dry, the whole locomotive is going to receive a finish of dull coat. To round things out, this locomotive was fitted with a TCS sound decoder, TCS speaker, and LED lighting. You ever heard that saying, give him an inch, he'll take a mile? While we were gone, I also had Brandon whip up a few custom caboose. These beautiful caboose, along with some other rolling stock, that didn't sound right. Those cabooses will be featured in an upcoming video. Thanks, Brandon. Be sure to subscribe, stay tuned, and follow the progress. This is Joey Ricard with TracksideScenery.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time.